All right, everybody. Thank you so much for jumping on today. Appreciate you guys. We are super excited to present our speaker today, who you've already heard about a little bit here, Jimmy Farris, Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. How long were you in the NFL, Jimmy?
7 years.
7 years. And one thing that I know about sports that one, I'm not very good at them, and I never made it past high school. But one is you got to prepare. You got to have a plan when you're going in to play a game, and it's super important. And at a high level, I mean, think about the Super Bowl Patriots. Think about the planning and the intensiveness that goes into that. But then there's that second part that Jimmy alluded to earlier, like how do you? Okay, great, we have a plan, but how do you sustain that plan? So I think a lot of us on this call today have plans, maybe don't have a plan, doesn't matter. But it's like, get a plan, put it together, but then how do we take it to the next level? How do we sustain it and make it happen and make it better and better and better? And that's why we put this together for you guys, because we want to take it to the next level. We want to be the best we can be in our lives, whether it's at home with our families or at work or outside of work, whatever. So I am super excited here to bring on Mr. Jimmy Farris, a coach, Super Bowl champion. Jimmy, thank you so much, man, for coming on. We really appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you guys, Jeff. Thank you so much. And thanks to Sky for kind of brainstorming this idea. So if you get a lot out of this today, thank Jeff and Sky. If it totally sucks, then give them both a dirty look and give them some shit at the end of it, because it was it was their idea. I love doing this stuff because as much as I loved my time in the NFL and my journey to the NFL through junior high, high school, and college, as much as I love that, as passionate as I was about that, when I retired, I had to figure out what I was going to do next. Right. And really at that point in my life, I was 31 and I'd spent all of my teens and all my 20s playing football. And it was like, what am I going to do? And I realized that I had this set of tools, right? I had a toolbox for high performance and getting better, and areas and ideas around how to be quote unquote successful. And so what I decided to do was take all of that knowledge that I learned on that journey and then in the pros, and then in the years since I retired, working with high performers and high achievers in all different industries, took all that knowledge and put it in a program so that I could deliver that to people just like yourselves, and try to help you guys take it to the next level in truly in any area of life or business. I've got clients that I work with, coaching clients, that some of them are wanting to get better in relationships or better health and fitness. Some of them are business owners, want to take their business to the next level. Some of them are in sales, they want to get better, right? So the ideas we're going to discuss here today certainly have a purpose or an idea of where you want to apply this, but there's no set point that says, hey, this is only for your business, or this is only for this particular area of your life, right? This stuff can be applied to any area where you want to get better, you want to get more clarity, and you want to have more success. First thing I want to say is, Jeff and Scott obviously put this thing on. And so at some point, shoot them a message and just say thank you, and let them know how much you appreciate this. They certainly don't have to do this. And obviously, one of the best ways you can thank them is with your continued business. If you're a broker or a partner or an agent or somebody that's on the call that they've invited. So please thank them. And I'm certainly thankful for everybody that's on the call. Let me share my screen here really quickly and get into this little slideshow presentation that I have. And I love this title, right? This is Sky's Brainstorm. What the fuck is the plan? And I think over the last year, a lot of people have been saying that, right? What the fuck am I doing? What the fuck is the plan? Like, fill in the blank. And so what we want to talk about here today is the importance of preparation and planning, right? I don't know the plan. I don't know your plan, but I don't have to know your plan in order to be able to help you put a plan in place, make that plan successful, and sustain that success. And the reason why we're talking about planning and preparation is because I really see those two as intertwined, right? Preparation with no plan is shit, okay? And a plan with no preparation is also shit. So you can't just be prepared and not have a plan. That won't get you there. And you can't have a plan and not be prepared to execute or implement the plan. That won't get you there either. This is a little quote that I heard years and years ago. And as I was putting this thing together, I was like, let me find out where that actually comes from. And turns out it's a quote from the British Army, whatever that means. I don't know if one of their commanders, commanding officer, somebody said that. But this idea of the 7 Ps, that proper planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance, right? And I think anybody in business or any area of their life, one of our goals is to prevent piss poor performance in some area where we want to excel or where we want to have success. One of the greatest coaches in NFL history, guy who's obviously in the NFL Coaching Hall of Fame, and somebody that for years leaders have looked to for guidance, a guy named Vince Lombardi, said that the will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare to win, right? Everybody wants to win. Again, everybody wants to have success. Everybody wants to excel. Everybody wants to make more money or have a great business or have great relationships. You fill in the blank. But very few people are willing to do what it takes to prepare to get the outcome that they want. There's a lot of wishful thinking out there. A lot of people that are saying they want one thing. They want that success or that achievement, but their actions would say that they're not willing to do the work to prepare, right? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the work here. All right, so a few expectations for today. This is what I really want you to walk away with, right? You don't have to remember everything, every key point we talk about. What I want you to walk away with, and what I'm going to give you are the keys to an effective plan, right? What are the keys to make a plan effective? How to make that plan successful, right? Because anytime we put a plan in place, we obviously are doing it for the purpose of having some success, right? So how do we make that plan successful? We're going to get to the bottom of that. And then finally, sustaining that momentum, right? Because that's what really defines high performance or excellence or success, is sustaining that over the long term. You don't get to have one good game or one good month or one good quarter or even one good year and call yourself successful or call yourself great, right? It's that sustained success, and in this case, momentum, to create that success over time. That's what we're going to talk about today. So what does it mean to be prepared? To be prepared, very simply, means to make ready beforehand, and here's the most important part, for a specific purpose. To make ready beforehand for a specific purpose, right? So being prepared requires that you have clarity of purpose. Second, clarity of person. And then third, clarity of plan, which is what we'll get into, right? But that clarity of purpose idea, that's first, because in order to be fully prepared or prepared to the best of your ability, you got to know what you're getting prepared for, right? Can you imagine if you had a chemistry final coming up and you spent the last couple of weeks studying for an English lit final, right? You'd be prepared, but not for the right thing, right? So it's very important that we have a clearly defined purpose or outcome or objective or goal, if you want to call it that, right? You can't be prepared if you're not very clear on exactly what it is that you're preparing for. I always use the example of the apps, the map application in my iPhone. It's a great app, right? You put in a destination, it'll give you the plan. So you can be prepared to make that trip before you even leave your garage. But the key part of that is you got to put in a clear destination, right? That app is useless to you if you don't have clarity about exactly where you're going. It'll tell you where you are. There's a little cursor flashing that says, here's where you are, but you got to put in the destination in order for that thing to devise a plan and get you prepared before you even leave the garage to make that trip, right? So we got to have a clearly defined outcome. If you walk into a gym and seek out a personal trainer and say, hey, I want to get in better shape, that trainer is going to ask you some questions to get more specific about what the plan is. Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want to lose 30 pounds? Are you trying to bulk up and gain weight and gain muscle? Because those specifics are going to reveal that significantly different plans are going to need to be put in place in order to achieve that outcome, right? So we got to get clear on the purpose. What's the purpose of the plan? What are we getting prepared for? That's first. Second thing, and maybe the most important, is we got to get what I call clarity of person. And what that means is we got to get clarity around the person that we need to be or become in order to meet that objective, or in order to create that outcome, or in order to achieve that goal or reach that goal. So many people ask me in a coaching setting or in their pursuit of a goal, what am I going to need to do in order to get this outcome? What am I going to need to do in order to make this happen or achieve that goal? People focus so much on what it is that they need to do. But the better question, the question that the most successful, highest achieving, highest performers in any industry will typically ask themselves first is, who do I need to be in order to make that happen? And the reason why that's the most important question is because if you're not the type of person, in other words, if you're not the type of person that will do the things necessary, it's almost impossible to have the things that you're shooting for or achieve that goal, right? That's why you guys have all heard of that concept, be, do, and have. And it's sequenced in that order for this exact reason, right? In order to have what you want to have, you're going to have to do certain things. And in order to do those certain things, you're going to have to be the type of person that would do those things, right? So as you go about this process, it's important to ask yourself, all right, here's what I'm trying to do. Here's my goal. Here's what's going to be required of me. Who do I need to be in order to do those things, to have that goal or that life or that relationship or that level of success or that income, or you fill in the blank, right? High performers are very clear about who they need to be and become in order to achieve their desired outcome. And then third, we got to have clarity of plan. And what I mean by this is you got to have the right plan in place. Okay. It's important to have a plan. Yes, but it's got to be the right plan. Again, I'll use that example of a person that walks into a gym and seeks out a personal trainer and says, well, I want to get in shape. And that personal trainer hands them a plan, right? Well, the plan is a plan to get in shape, but it's a plan for, again, a teenage kid to put on 10 pounds of muscle to bulk up and get bigger, faster, stronger because he wants to go play football, right? If he hands that plan to somebody that's looking to lose 20 pounds, yeah, it's a plan, right? It's a structure, but it's the wrong plan. Every year in the off season, when I was in the NFL, I would spend a couple weeks evaluating the past season and decide what areas I needed to get better. Did I need to be a little bit stronger? Did I need to be a little bit faster? Maybe I did need to bulk up and put on a little bit of muscle and play a little bit heavier and bigger that next year. Whatever it was that I decided, I would meet with my trainer and we'd say, here's the objective. Okay. That clarity of purpose. Here's the changes I need to make. In other words, who I need to be in order to meet that objective. And then he would say, all right, our objective this year is to get quicker and faster. Here's the specific plan to achieve that purpose, right? We didn't just go in the weight room and lift weights and then go out on the track and run. We had a clearly defined purpose. I knew who I needed to be in order to meet that objective. And then we had the right plan in place. And as you can see there at the bottom, a goal is not a goal if you aren't clear on these three things. You can't just come in and say, well, I want to be better. Well, I want to make more money. Well, we want to be the best team. You know, we want to lead the industry. Well, in what, right? What are the metrics? Over what time period, right? How are you going to measure that? When's it going to be done by? What category, right? So we got to be clear on all these things. And then the last piece on this, some of you guys that were here in my first presentation, and certainly Sky, who I work with individually, has heard me talk about this idea a lot, this idea of self-discipline, right? People always want to talk about motivation, right? Motivation is shit. Forget about motivation. It doesn't matter. Some days you'll feel motivated, other days you won't. I don't care how you feel. I know that's harsh, but I don't. I love those t-shirts that I see out there sometimes that say, fuck your feelings, because it's true. Nobody cares how you feel. Nobody cares whether you feel like doing it today or not. Some days you will, some days you won't. But if you want to meet the objective, if you want to excel and have the success you want to have, it's going to take discipline and, more importantly, self-discipline, right? Motivation doesn't matter. It's self-discipline that matters, right? So get that mindset right now that you are going to discipline yourself. People then say to me all the time, what does that mean? How do I build self-discipline? Well, the first, best, and easiest way that I know how to build self-discipline is to stop negotiating with yourself. It's very simple. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you've decided that you're going to get up at 5 a.m. and get a workout in or plan your day or whatever it is, when the alarm goes off, you get up. There's no negotiating. If you've decided that in order to reach your goal, you need to make 50 calls a day or 30 calls a day, you make 30 or 50 calls a day. No negotiating, right? We allow ourselves to get into these negotiations where we'll say, well, I don't really feel like it today. So I know that I'm supposed to make 30 calls. I'll tell you what, I'll make 20 today and then I'll make 40 tomorrow, right? These trade-offs, these negotiations that we make. Discipline yourself, no negotiating. That's the easiest, quickest, and fastest way to build self-discipline. And you start there. You start small with doing what you said you would do, and watch how your discipline builds and builds and builds over consistency on that point. Consistently do what you said you would do, and watch your self-discipline in all other areas of your life begin to build. You start to empower your brain to believe that you can keep promises to yourself, that you can do what you said you would do. And it starts to permeate all other areas of your life. But without this key, without discipline, we can be clear on our objective. We can know who we need to be very clear on that. We can have a perfect plan in place. If we don't get out of bed every day and do what we need to do what has to be done, and do what we said we would do, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. So discipline is the glue that holds all of that together. So that's the preparation piece of that, right? So when we talk about creating the plan, and this goes for any plan, this is kind of what I led off with Jeff. Doesn't matter what your plan is, right? This is how we implement a plan, how we devise a plan and implement a plan that will be successful, how that plan will work, right? So when we're creating our plan, the way we need to approach that is to focus on the future. Think big. In other words, big picture. Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talks about this concept around the idea of beginning with the end in mind, right? We need to be future focused. We need to project a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years into the future, however far out our goal or our objective is, and get clear about what that's going to look like at that point in the future so that we can then back engineer it from there, right? Focus on the future. What do you want this to be? Why are we doing this, right? What's the end game? What's the big goal? So many people get caught up in thinking about what's convenient now, right? What's the present circumstance, or what are the stresses or the struggles we're facing now? And they create plans to fix problems for right now. And they never focus and project out into the future. What does that really need to look like? Right? I remember periods of time, again, in the NFL offseason in March. Season starts in September. In March, I'm working out every morning at 6, 7 a.m., puking, right? Putting my body through hell. Thinking, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because of the result that I want in September. I want to be on the team in September, right? I was focused on the future. How I was feeling that particular day wasn't important. I wasn't going to succeed or reach the goal on that particular day. a given Tuesday or Wednesday in some random week in March. I was pushing my body to the extreme because of a goal that I had set for September, right? The plan was to get me ready for a point in the future, September in that case, right? So focus on the future. Think big picture. What's the ultimate goal? I don't care what it looks like now. I don't care what the circumstances look like now. I don't care how wavy the ocean is, how big the waves are, right? Focus on the goal to get to shore. Okay. Step 2. Now you got to chunk down. Now you start thinking small. In other words, what are the steps that I need to take today, tomorrow, next week, and next month in order to get to that point in the future? Again, using my own example, the goal was to be ready to go so that I was on the team in September, that I could successfully earn a spot on that roster in September. Right? So the second step of this, of creating this plan and implementing it, is understanding what do I need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, in order to ensure that we get to that point in the future. So this is when you chunk down. This is when you start thinking small. This is when you start taking small steps. I remember one of my coaches at the start of the season every year. He'd come in that first week. He'd say, guys, the goal is to go 16-0, win 2 playoff games, and then win the Super Bowl. That's the goal. All right. How do we get there? Guys would say, oh, we got to work our asses off. Other guys would say, oh, we got to stay healthy. Well, we got to play great defense and we got to score a lot of points. He'd go around the room and let guys give different answers. And then he would tell us the answer. And the answer was always the way that you go 16-0, win 2 playoff games, and win a Super Bowl is by going 1-0. Because if you don't go 1-0, you can't go 16-0, right? So he'd chunk it down and make it small. The goal is to go 1-0. And after you go 1-0, then you go 2-0. Then you go 3-0, right? If you want to lose 50 pounds, the goal is to lose 1 pound, and then 2 pounds, and then 5. What do you need to do today to lose that 1 pound, which will get you to 5, which will get you to 10, and ultimately to 50? Right? So you think big picture. Where do we want to be? What's the goal? What's the desired outcome? Then you chunk down and you think small. What's immediately in my sight? What's immediately necessary right now to get to that endpoint? Right? You chunk down and you think small. And last, you got to be able. And this comes from a funny story that used to circulate around the NFL about what a lot of coaches used to call the greatest player of all time. It was this guy named Abel, this guy that none of us had ever met. But the thing about Abel that made him so great was he was dependable, he was reliable, he was accountable, he was coachable, he was teachable, and last but not least, the most important characteristic was he was available. And in sports, if you're not available, if you're hurt, if you didn't take care of your body, can't play in the game, can't help the team, can't help us win, you're really of no use, right? So in that version of the story, the most important thing was to be available, right? But my coaches that told this story used to say, we should all want to be just like Abel. So I've adapted that a little bit to this context, right? When you're creating a plan and putting a plan in place, it's very important that you be able, in other words, able to think a little bit differently when you need to. You need to be able to be adaptable, to understand, okay, we put this plan in place and in a week's time or in a month's time, some things have changed, right? Does anybody remember March of 2020? Right? Things changed pretty quickly. Those of us that were able to survive and be successful through COVID and through the pandemic did so because we were able to adapt. We were adaptable, right? You got to be teachable. You got to be willing and able to learn new things, to have the mindset that says, I don't know it all, to have the willingness to accept information from people that maybe have ideas that you didn't consider, maybe people that are a little bit more successful in your industry or better than you at what you're doing. You got to be teachable, willing to learn something. You got to be coachable. A lot of people think these two are the same things, to be teachable and coachable, and they're not. Teachable means you're willing to learn something. Coachable means you're willing to implement what you've learned. Can't tell you how many people I've worked with in the past that will eat up the knowledge. Man, this is great. You know, they learn everything. Guys I played with, they'd learn the playbook, they'd learn the system, but they wouldn't implement the small, fine details of what they were learning. Coach would tell them, hey, it needs to be done this way, right? That thing that we just taught you, we want you to actually do that. Guys would say, well, you know, I think it works better this way, or I like to do it this way. It's a sign that you're not coachable, right? In order to create and implement a successful plan, you've got to be coachable. There's people that have done this before. There's people that are smarter than you. I know Jeff might not be one of them, right? So you don't have to listen to him. But there's people that are smarter than you. There's people that are better at what you're doing than you. Be coachable. Be coachable. It's key to implementing and executing a successful plan. And last, be flexible. I know doesn't end with ABLE, it's a IBLE, but you get the point. Be flexible, right? Be willing to move and bend and consider something else. Be willing to say, well, I know we said that we would do it this way, or we'd have this done by this point in time, but it's going to work better if we bend a little bit on that, right? You got to set boundaries, but be willing to be flexible on those boundaries, right? That's the key. Adaptability, teachability, coachability, and flexibility in your plan. Nothing is going to go perfect. Mike Tyson, one of my favorite fighters, everybody's probably heard this in some context, said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? And at that moment, when you get punched in the face, if you're not adaptable or flexible, your chances of winning that fight go downhill quickly, right? So you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to learn, implement what you've learned, and be flexible, all right? Keys, huge keys in creating your plan. So why are we doing all this? Why is being prepared and having a plan so important, right? Why do we spend all this time preparing and then creating and implementing a plan? The reason is momentum. And as an athlete, I can tell you, when it comes to sports, whether we're talking the Pop Warner level or the highest, best of the best, pro sports, momentum is the key to success. Preparation and planning creates the momentum. Sometimes we find ourselves in a period where momentum just washes over us, right? Everything we do turns to gold. It's easy. We get in the flow of a trend or a increasing market or a rising tide, and it just happens, right? The momentum is generated for us and we tap into it. What this is about is creating that momentum when it doesn't exist, right? I'm talking about the basketball player who's 0 for 10, can't hit a shot. Talking about the car salesman who hadn't sold a car in 2 months, couldn't pay somebody to buy a car from him. I'm talking about the business that's struggling, can't catch a break. How do you create the momentum? Well, the preparation and the planning are key to creating the momentum. I love this little diagram. It's not mine. I can't take ownership for it. I can't take credit for it. But when I was introduced to it, it immediately made sense. This diagram, some people call it the success cycle. Other people call it the momentum cycle. This lays out how to create the momentum. And you can see that in these boxes are belief, potential, action, and results. And you can see these arrows going clockwise and how these feed into each other. So let me explain this to you. Creating momentum and mastering momentum starts with belief, okay? Starts with deep-seated belief in yourself and starts with deep-seated belief in the idea. I remember I was taking a training in business coaching some years ago, and the guy that was leading the training said that when it comes to being a business owner or a leader and dealing with employees, he put forward this idea that anything less than 100% belief in the concept or the direction that the leader wants to go, anything less than 100% belief is sabotage. And I love that when he said that, right? Because I thought back to all my times playing sports. Coach puts a game plan together. Coach has the way that we're going to be successful. And it took 100% belief in our leader that what they were putting forward was going to be successful in order for us to create and generate that type of success. Think about the military, right? Maybe some of you guys here served in the military at some point, or you had a family member that did, or you know somebody that did. Ask them about this. It takes 100% belief, right, in your commanding officer or in the mission in order to execute that and have the most amount of success, right? So it starts with belief. And when you have 100% deep-seated belief in yourself or in the mission, how much of your potential do you tap when you have that kind of belief? You tap a ton of your potential. Potential just means what you can do, right? What you're capable of doing. You're going to tap all of your potential. And when you tap all your potential, how much action you're going to take? Take massive action. You're going to do whatever it takes, right? You add up your belief, that 100% belief, tapping all your potential and taking massive action. What type of results do you typically get under those conditions? You get incredible results. And when you set out to do something and you get great results, what's that do to your belief, or in this case, your confidence? Skyrockets it, right? So now your belief and your confidence is even higher. What's that provoke you to do? You tap more potential. You take more action. You get better results, right? So you see how this cycle works through each other and how it's dependent on each other. It starts with belief, belief in yourself, belief in your preparation, belief in your plan, belief in the mission, right? When you know you're prepared and you have a plan, your level of belief skyrockets. This is how you create the momentum. This is how you create the momentum. I talked to a number of NBA players. Years ago, I was playing in a celebrity charity game, right? And I'm not a basketball player. I'm a decent athlete, but I'm not a basketball player. But there was a handful of former NBA players that were playing in this charity game with me. And I came out in the first half and was like 0 for 8. Like I hadn't hit anything. And at halftime, we were just kind of, I was casually talking with one of the guys and I said, man, I can't hit anything, man. I'm kind of embarrassed, because there was a crowd there was people there and they picked me to play in this game. And I felt like I was embarrassing myself. And he said, oh, just go to the bucket and get an easy one. I said, what do you mean? And he said, just go get a layup or something. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, anytime I'm in a game and I'm cold, right? I can't hit anything. I'm in a slump. He said, I go to the basket and get an easy one, watch the ball go through the net. And it just increases my belief a little bit, have a little bit of success, and it increases my belief. He said, then I'm more confident. I believe a little bit more that the next shot I take can go in too. He said, and that's how I get that momentum, get on a roll. And it just blew my mind. I'd never thought about that. Get an easy one, right? Increase your belief, tap more potential, take more action, get better results, right? You have a great month. That should increase your belief. You can do it again next month. Tap more your potential, take more action, get better results. And the cycle just continues to perpetuate. That's how you create the type of momentum that will make your plan that you've implemented successful, right? If you've done the preparation, you've put the plan in place, you should start with a high level of belief that you can be successful. Let that be the impetus to tap all your potential, take massive action, and then watch the results that you get and just let that cycle continue to spin. But here's the key. How do you maintain it? Right? Everybody's been in a flow. Everybody's had a great performance. Everybody's had a day or a period of time where they were just on, where you couldn't miss. And then for whatever reason, you go cold. How do you maintain the momentum, right? How do you stem the tide, so to speak? How do you stay operating at those top levels? Look, you're not going to be able to drop 40 every game, okay? You're not going to be able to have record months every month. But the key is to maintain a level of high performance, knowing that there'll be periods of time where you peak up, but inevitably you'll come back down. But we want to maintain a level of high performance. How do you maintain that momentum? How do you sustain that success? It starts with the fundamentals. You have to keep doing the fundamentals, right? In football, coaches always talked about that in terms of blocking and tackling. Those are the key fundamentals. We'd go out on the practice field randomly during the season and go back to the most basic football drills that kids in junior high are doing as pro athletes. We would go through these drills in practice to maintain a focus on the fundamentals. I read a story in a book about how Michael Jordan started every single workout with a chest pass, the most basic pass in basketball. One of the first things they teach you as a young basketball player is how to do a chest pass. Michael Jordan started every workout with 10 chest passes, right? Focusing on the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals of your business? Whatever that is. What are the fundamentals that maybe you've taken for granted? The fundamentals that maybe you think you got it. I don't need to focus on that shit. I've been doing this for 10 years. We don't need to think about that. I got that. Well, Michael Jordan was the greatest player in the world, and he started every workout with a chest pass, right? What's your chest pass? What's that look like for you? What's that 1, 2, or 3 fundamental things that you can focus on a daily basis to maintain that momentum and that success? Okay, number 2 on here is consistency, and it lends itself to fundamentals. Are you consistently doing the things that you were doing when you were riding high? Because we all know what happens. You reach a level of success, you're in the zone, you're in the flow, and then you're just like, I got this. Now I'm on cruise control. And you stop doing the things that got you there. On the climb and on the rise, you were consistent every day. You were on it. And then you get there, you start experiencing that high level of success, and you start falling off, right? Start eating a couple cookies here, a couple slices of pizza over there. Before you know it, you gained 5 or 10 pounds back, right? Before you know it, you had 2 or 3 bad months in a row. And you're wondering why. It's because you stopped doing the things that got you there. Consistency, focusing on the fundamentals and staying consistent with what got you there. The next thing, evaluation. Are you continuing to evaluate yourself and your performance during the good times, during the high periods? Go back and look at some of the best months or best years you've had in your career. And then evaluate yourself now and compare what you're doing now to what you were doing then. Are you reflecting? Are you taking time to evaluate your current performance? Or are you still living in the past when things were great, when everything was good? Oh, I'm still that person. Well, a deep dive, some self-reflection, some self-evaluation might reveal to you that, again, you're not doing the fundamentals. You're not consistent on the things that you used to be that got you there, right? Evaluate yourself. If you're a leader, evaluate your team. Are you doing what it takes, what's necessary consistently? And the last one on this is celebration. Let me explain that. Sometimes we get so caught up in striving for the success that we want to have. We get so caught up in the preparation. We get so caught up in the idea of achieving the goal that we forget to celebrate our progress and our successes along the way. Celebrating the successes along the way is key in maintaining the momentum. Any of you guys that are sports fans, Apologize for all the sports references, but I'm a former pro athlete. So that's what you get when you hire me. If you watch teams that are having great success throughout the season, I was a part of some of them. Sometimes you'll be watching a game and they'll show a team in the locker room after the game and you'll see the coach dancing and all the players standing around. Maybe they're freestyle rapping or they're dancing to some music, right? They just won one game. They just won a game, but they're celebrating the success in the moment. One of my favorite things about winning in the NFL was after a win, coach used to give us what's called Victory Monday, which means we don't have to show up on Monday. Okay, typically you play a game on Sunday, 8 a.m., you're right back in the building on Monday morning, getting treatment, lifting weights, watching film of the game from the day before. Victory Monday meant you didn't have to be there. Players don't show up, rest, relax, do what you want to do. Shit, some guys would drive straight from the stadium to the airport and take a flight out of town. Go hang out with a friend or go see their parents or their family. You didn't have to be back until Wednesday, right? Tuesday was already a mandated day off. So typically we'd work Monday, have Tuesday off, come back to work on Wednesday. Victory Monday meant you had Monday and Tuesday off. We celebrated those wins along the way, right? So take some time while you're evaluating yourself, being critical. Also take some time to pat yourself on the back for those small wins along the way. Again, the goal is to lose 50 pounds. God damn it, celebrate losing 2 pounds. Celebrate losing 5 pounds. That's how you maintain the mindset, the enthusiasm, the excitement necessary to continue to perform at a high level. The business owners and the executives and the leaders that I work with, I encourage them always to set what I call targets, right? Which are smaller pieces, chunking down, smaller pieces of the bigger goal. And when you hit those things, when your team hits those, celebrate that shit, right? Because people want to feel good. It's hard to wait until you lose the 50 pounds to celebrate it. That's a long, arduous journey. But in the pursuit of losing the 50 pounds or making the $1 million or whatever the goal is, celebrate the small wins. It's almost a guarantee that these practices right here, focusing on the fundamentals, staying consistent, doing the necessary evaluation on yourself and your team, and celebrating the process, celebrating the wins and the success along the way, it's almost a guarantee you can maintain that momentum and continue to perform at those high levels. And look, guys, that's really what we all want, right? We're all here. We're all in business or on this call because we enjoy what we do and we want to have continued success at it. And what we talked about, preparing, implementing a plan, making that plan successful, and then sustaining and maintaining that momentum, right? These are the keys. This is the key to having that success that you want, to reaching those goals that you have, and for enjoying what you're doing, for enjoying the process, enjoying the journey, for not going home every night and saying, fuck, today sucked, right? Nobody wants to do that. This is how you achieve those goals, achieve those outcomes, and enjoy the process and enjoy doing it. So with that, like I said, questions, clarifications, comments, feedback. I don't have a hard stop. I'll stay here for as long as we need to. This was really fun. And so I'd love to continue the conversation. So if anybody has questions, comments, wants clarification or anything, just unmute yourself and I'm here.
I gotta say, man, I loved it. I'll start because, well, I'm the host, so I don't care what anybody else says. But I loved it, man. I appreciate it. The part I loved about it is I was applying it to some of my plans that I put into focus in the past and doing some of those things through coaching that I got from you and Isaac from the coaching program and stuff. It's so amazing that what you say, if you actually implement these tools that I took notes on every part of it, but it actually works. Like I've lost 55 pounds doing the exact same things, doing the plan and doing all these other things that you're talking about. We just recently implemented a plan probably about 6 months ago through Sky, who's been coached by you as well. And, you know, it's been a long road, to be honest with you, but in reality, what the plan took is going back to the basics, you know, that we gave up, that I gave up, like making my calls every week. I wasn't making my calls, but we were building up the infrastructure to get ready. And then once the infrastructure was in place, I started to go back to the basics. I went back and I started filling out a greatness tracker to track my calls. Like little tiny things like you were talking about are so important. And those are the first things that you stop doing once you hit success. And that's why it's like, you know, the chest pass for Michael Jordan, that hit the biggest hit home for me personally, is like, there's so many super athletes out there, like superstars, and that's what they're all about. They go out and, you know, they, like a basketball player will go out and shoot 50 baskets in practice every day, because shooting is the primary basic thing that they do out there, right? And that's what they're focused in on. But a lot of players, they get good and they stop focusing on making a shot every day. They go out and work on other things or whatever, and then they fall off. And we fell off. I fell off because I wasn't making those calls, and our volume dropped a little bit. And now we're pushing it back, and we're having one of our best months ever, practically this month. And it's all going back months and months of plans, preparation, and putting that plan in place, and then going back to the basics and the fundamentals and implementing it. And we're continually evaluating as well. I mean, it's just like freaking mind blowing how this whole class was exactly what we've been going through for the last 6 months. And a lot of my team is on here too. So I'm sure they're like thinking, wow, now it all makes sense that these guys have been dicks this whole time. And now it actually, we're getting the success. And now I know where they're coming from. No, I'm not, I'm just joking, but still, what an amazing opportunity. I hope people on the call kind of could maybe relate to it that way too. Like they implemented a plan and maybe didn't go back to the basics, or implemented a plan, didn't get the momentum and things like that. And now they might have some tools that they got today that they could implement going forward to get that escalation up. So thanks again, man. That was just freaking awesome.
No, I appreciate that, Jeff. And you're spot on. I mean, it's the combination, right, of working towards new learnings and implementing new things and stretching yourself and being open to new ideas and you know, new innovations and those type of things. But you can't leave the basics behind and then go for all that shit, right? You gotta stay focusing on the basics, on the chest pass, while you're working on everything else. That's the way you keep the foundation solid. And so you're spot on, man. That's awesome.
Does anyone else have any good comments on that or any takeaways they want to share?
I think the consistency is the most important part, because once you stop doing it, even if you stop doing it for 2 weeks, it's going to be another 2 weeks end of the year backwards. So you got to do it no matter what you're doing in the car, in traffic. Do 1 phone call or 2 phone calls. It works towards the goal of phone calls, how many of them you have per day. And celebrate that little success you have. Like you, I lost 60 pounds and I didn't celebrate it one by one. But I think you have to do every little success, a little celebration, just to acknowledge what you've done and be proud of yourself, because this is one step towards the big goal, and the big goal is going to lead you towards many big goals.
That's it. Yeah. And you know what's key about that, Elena, too, and it's funny, Sky and I were just talking about this before the call. That idea that progress, this is old Tony Robbins saying, progress equals happiness, right? So we got to celebrate our progress. Anytime we're taking small steps, baby steps towards the bigger goal. If we're making progress, there's happiness and joy and fulfillment to be found in the process. That's why I talk about celebrate losing a pound or 2 pounds that's the progress towards the goal. And if you're making progress, there's a just a good feeling of happiness and joy that surrounds that, and that should be celebrated.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you go on vacation, you know, you take the time to go vacation and then you come back and you're like, I don't want to start this process again. So any words of wisdom?
100%. Look, vacation or downtime or unplugging is as important to success, so to speak, as the hard work is. When I think about so many of these things, this is what's so cool about what I do now. When I started like diving into personal development and quote unquote success, right? And reading the books and all this stuff, I found these common themes that so many of these super high level leaders, how they valued their downtime, like really unplugging. And what they do, just to give you an example, is they'll go hard for 6, 7, 8 months on a big project or something that's really important. Go hard, burn the candle at both ends. And then they unplug for a month or 2 months, and look, we're talking about, billionaire CEOs, right? And so when they unplug, they go on a yacht out in, off the coast of Greece somewhere. But the point is, they value that time to refresh, recharge, to re-spark their creativity and their drive and their hunger and their motivation, just as much as the hard work that they put in to achieve the goal or the outcome. And when I thought about that in the terms of a pro athlete, I was like, well, that's actually like a lot of what we did, right? The season starts in August or September. We grind our asses off for 6 months. The year we won the Super Bowl was on like February 3rd. And I was like, man, I've been at this for like 7 months. So I took a good month or 6 weeks and didn't do anything. I didn't work out. I slept in. I ate whatever I wanted to eat. I didn't look at a pair of cleats, a pair of gloves, didn't look at a weight, didn't go for a jog, didn't do anything. And when I came back, although there was a little bit of feeling like, all right, I gotta get back in there and kind of start from ground zero and rebuild, I was hungry to do it. I was excited to do it because I'd had time to refresh and recharge. So I was ready to get back on the grind, right? So the point is, make sure when you're on that vacation and you're on downtime, you really focus on being present in that moment, enjoying that downtime, enjoying that vacation, so that when it's time to go back to work, you feel refreshed, you feel recharged, and you're actually excited to get back to the quote unquote grind, even though, all right, I gotta, it's going to be some heavy lifting to get back in that routine or get myself back in shape or whatever. Have yourself in a mindset where you're ready to attack that and you can enjoy it.
I think to piggyback on that too, Mary, I've gone through that a million times, like losing weight and all that stuff. I mean, I keep talking about weight. Here I go again, right? But same experience. Like for the first time in like 25 years, I went on a vacation to Hawaii for a week with my family, and I didn't carry my phone for the first 3 days because I wanted to check out completely. And my family actually got angry at me because they couldn't get a hold of me because I didn't have my phone so they could text me. You know how everything's phone driven. And I'm like, dude, you guys don't understand. If I touch that thing, I'm screwed. Like my whole life is going to be turmoil. And that was the first vacation where I checked out. And when I came back, there was this rejuvenation of where I got up the next morning and Monday morning got up and worked out and started my whole routine again. Now, part of that though is self-discipline. The other part of it is I've been doing my routine for 2 years straight, like without boom, 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 boom. So I have the consistency, I have the self-discipline that I've been getting up every day at 5 a.m. and I'm doing this certain routine every day. So when I went on vacation and checked out, I would get up at like 10 o'clock in the afternoon, which is not, in the morning, which is not like me. Like I'm up at 5 a.m., right? And I ate what I wanted. I didn't work out the entire time. But when I got back the next day, I knew in my head, self-discipline, I got to start working out. I can't do this forever. And I immediately jumped right back into my plan. So part of it was the consistency led me to the point where my brain was like, oh, you're off vacation. It's time to go back to work and let's rock this out. And I think that's a big part of it too. It's like, we can't get into that habit. Like we do things so mediocre for a long period of time that getting out of the habit is easy. But if you're really consistent and you got the self-discipline that you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you hold yourself accountable to that level, that eventually you can take time off. You can celebrate and cheat and have, dessert one time. But as long as you get up the next morning and you're right back on track, the plan is going to be there and you're going to get the results you're looking for.
Well said.
I'm gonna throw something on this one, Jeff. I used to drop off the planet for 2, 3, sometimes 4 days at a time when I was running around in Afghanistan or Iraq. and I'd get messages go, hey, we don't know where you're at in the world. You know, you get back to us. One of the first things you really have to understand and accept is that everybody can be replaced. And if you're going to take a vacation or something like that, first off, throw the guilt aside. You've done nothing wrong. You deserve it. But just like how you plan your days and plan ahead, if you know you're going, you want competent people that can cover for you. So if I'm leaving to go somewhere, I don't care if I give another agent a deal. I'll take a referral. I'll move on. You have to, I mean, have faith and trust they're not going to mess your stuff up, but turn it over to them and press on, walk away. I mean, when you come back, it's easy to step back into something because habit is repetition of doing an act over and over. You sink back in. But when you get ready to leave, you don't just walk away and totally drop to where nobody knows where you're at, nobody knows what's going on. You plan your vacation, but then you make sure that there's competent people handling your business while you're gone, because you, as an independent agent, unless you're running a team, you are your business. So just get with somebody, bring them up on speed for what you're doing, and just have faith that they're going to handle what you do, and then walk away. Because the thing is, your family deserves your time when you have that time off, and you should never feel guilty. I have given what I call people that don't understand that, I call them referrals, not clients. Because at that point, the fact that if they can't understand that you do have the right to a life, that you do have a family, that you do deserve that time to yourself, give them to somebody else. Take the referral, move on.
It's so true, man. Our business is 24/7. Real estate, I always say, real estate's 24/7, and it's never ending. And I can't tell you how many times I talk to agents and they're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, where are you at? And I'm like, oh, I'm in Florida on vacation. I'm like, really? Why are you answering your phone? Like, you're not on vacation, dude. You're working in Florida. You're just working remote, which is more common now than ever. And checking out is huge. It gives your body a time to regenerate, the love for the business and stuff. And that's part of the thing I got back into it, and I was like enjoying it again. And I'm enjoying it now. I mean, I think I told Sky this not too long ago. I'm like, I'm actually having fun again. Like, it's weird. Like, I haven't had fun in like years. I do it because I need to do it, but now I'm actually doing it because I enjoy it again. And part of it was taking that breaks and, doing things the right way. So it's been a really impactful situation for me, for sure.
Jeff, to your point, that the fun and the downtime or the vacation should be part of the plan, your overall kind of life plan or your plan for the year. Some of us are more diligent about that than others. Some of us plan out our entire year or a quarter or whatever. Take the time to schedule in downtime, fun activities, fun and leisure. That's a huge part of life. You can't just grind. This whole I'll sleep when I die and I'm going to grind until, I'm in the grave, all this shit. Like, that's amateur level stuff. It really is. And when you hear people saying that kind of stuff, they're amateurs. When you talk to the best of the best, they'll all tell you the better example, even though it's cliche, is work hard, play hard, right? Go hard when you need to be going hard. But when it's time to unplug and shut down, that should be part of the plan too.
Love it. Any other questions?
Something other people do forget. Not everybody's a superstar, and that's okay. If you're rolling on a team, everybody has a part in it. The end result is the goal. We're all here to win. So I don't have to be the face that runs the place, because it's usually everything behind the scenes that makes the face that runs the place good. Jordan, like they always talk about Michael Jordan was the greatest player in basketball, but then you turn around and hear them talk about Scottie Pippen was the best defender the Bulls had. That's Everybody had a role in order to win. The end goal is to lift that trophy up, no matter what position you play on the court, on the field, wherever. So the bottom line is, even as an independent broker, I'm not here to be the lender. That's Jeff's job. I'm not here to be escrow. That's their job. I'm not here to micromanage. I'm going to do my part to make the end result the winning thing. We're all going to lift a trophy. So it's just sometimes understanding where you're at in that, because sometimes people have a tendency to worry so hard about what everybody else is doing that they drop the ball on their own side. And that's where the loss comes in.
Love it. Well, Jimmy, man, thanks again, man. Very impactful, awesome talk. Hopefully we can have you back again here sooner than later and get some more insight. Love hearing from you. I'm I'm sure everyone on this call has gotten a good takeaway. So thanks again. We've recorded
Awesome.
it. Anyone wants a, yeah, thank you. Yeah, good job, man.
Thank you.
Anyone
Yes, I'd
wants
love a
to copy the
recording.
Let us know.
You got
Please.
it.